Welcome to the Orange Tree Golf Resort, and we are hosting a conference about advocacy called And Justice for All. It is hosted by the Wallace Foundation in recognition of their 30 years of community service and giving in Arizona, and also to try to help pass the torch and show nonprofits and funders how to get involved in social justice work.
Advocacy is supporting people, and the bottom line, that's what it is.
I am a grantee. I've received money from the Wallace Foundation for a project that I direct in Tucson, Arizona called the Social Justice Education Project. And I'm here to speak about the project that I direct.
Welcome everyone, good morning. This is an honor to start us off to speak with such distinguished people working for social justice who are advocates.
I work with young people, primarily Latino young people in Tucson. Most of them come from poor working class families in the south side of Tucson. What we do is enhance their educational experiences.
The idea that the system is supposed to put you into ability groups, according to your so-called ability. There'll be certain kinds of assessments, non-assessments in most cases, and they'll put you in an ability group. Well, in most cases, who tend to fill the lower tracks throughout this country? Excuse me? Minority students. You can go anywhere in the country and you'll see that. The lower educational tracks will be filled with minority students, particularly Latino and African American students.
They learn their basic skills such as reading, writing, and math, but they also learn about social justice. What are some of the issues in their community that are affecting them personally, affecting their families, the injustices that they may experience every day. And we give them an opportunity to learn about those injustices and then give them an opportunity to do something about it. So the lesson is an empowering lesson. It sort of lifts them up and gives them a sense of purpose, and again, gives them a sense that they can do something about their lives, change their own lives, change the lives of their family, and change the lives of people within their own community.
You start to realize that it's not you or your family, right? The reason why you're experiencing this failure or this lack of success. There's a systematic reason behind it. That is social justice. So with that in mind, with that consciousness, youth are capable of becoming agents of change. So what does that say about our society? We're more willing to put money into prisons than in our school system. And this is what, I put this picture in case you forgot what he looked like. This is Mark Twain, a long time ago, right? But this is a quote about prisons and schools. So in this quote, he is quoting a farmer, because a particular town was saying, we can't afford schools, let's close the schools down. And the farmer said, well, we're going to have to pay for this somehow, because usually when they shut down schools, they put up prisons. Exactly. This quote really makes the point very well, in the sense that what are the costs for not funding education, improving education? The alternative is we're going to see an increase in our prison population. So I identify a lot with the young people I work with. Same situation. They come from poor working class families. The education that they go through is very inferior. There aren't many people who advocate for them. Don't really tell them that, we believe in you. We believe that you can make a difference in your life. So who advocated for me? Very simple. Community college. Very simple. I went to community college in California. Because of that opportunity, that really changed my life.
Only 1.6 of the jobs in the future of Arizona will require no college education. Every other job will require post-secondary education.
Absolutely. The kind of economy that we have here, if you want to get a job, and if you want to get a decent paying job, you're going to need a college degree. There's no doubt about it. This is a service-based economy. It's an economy based on finance and technology. So it requires skills that someone needs to go to college and get those skills. If you don't go to college, your options are very limited in the service economy. 4 simple steps. First is we start off with a social justice constitution, sort of disposition. Understanding a consciousness about how social structures, systems, institutions affect people. The second is identity formation. For the people that we work with, the work must include some identity work where they feel positive about themselves and positive about who they are. The second is community activism. The people we advocate for, we must give them opportunities to be involved in change-making process. And I have the Chinese proverb right up here. I think it's very simple, everyone knows, but I think it really says a lot. Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. I feel that's very true. It's like, in terms of advocacy work and advocacy in communities, it's not about, giving people money so that they're no longer poor. It's like giving them the skills to fight poverty, giving them the skills to fight homelessness. It is important, say for instance, to provide shelter for people who are homeless, but I think it's worth so much more if you give them the skills for them to become advocates and change the situation around homelessness. And finally, humanistic understanding, a compassion for others, and this is what we discussed earlier. This is necessary in order for individuals to understand how he or she can help him or herself. That is essential for helping others. So there's a cyclical process in which you're helping others, you need to also help yourself. I'm going to end here with a photo. And this is a very powerful photo. This photo was taken March 2006. As we all know, what was happening in March 2006, both in Phoenix and in Tucson? Immigration law. Thank you. Good historical memory. That's very good. These two are social justice students from Tucson High School. This is Liz Hernandez and Marisela Rodriguez. They are the key organizers for the student walkouts in Tucson. So there's a sense that they've gone through this development process and now they're ready to engage in community activism, engage for compassion for others and for humanity. And this picture, after thinking about it lying up at night, I'm thinking, this reminds me of other famous pictures that we've seen. You might think of Cesar Chavez and Robert Kennedy right here. The next time I do this, I might actually juxtapose them. But these are our future leaders, right? Who are going to make change for us, or make change for us in this particular state. Thank you very much.
Now I'd like to introduce another special feature of the day that ties in with part of the conference title, Tell Your Story and Get Heard. Since telling your story to various audiences is an important part of the advocacy process, we encouraged all of you to tell us your stories about your attempts to advocate or find social justice for your consumers. Several times throughout the day, Sean Bovala, a professional storyteller with Storyteller.net, will share some of these stories with you, and at the end of the day, one of the organizations submitting a story will be selected to receive a $100 gift from the Wallace Foundation. Sean brings 21 years of experience and a recent national award for storytelling to help us to recognize, integrate, and utilize the story of the participants with the power and universality of world myths, legends, and folk tales. And I remember when I was in high school looking at future careers, I never saw storyteller as a possible career to go into. But Sean, you truly lead the way, and so please take it away.
Outside the city was sitting Truth. Truth just sitting on a rock, crying and weeping and crying. Truth was so sad. And besides that, Truth was naked. There was the naked Truth, just sitting outside the city, crying and weeping and crying. When along came walking Story, and when Story traveled, Story is dressed in beads and bangles and fancy clothes, all kinds of stuff. The Story came upon Truth. And Story said to Truth, "Why are you here? Why are you crying?" And Truth said, "No one wants the naked Truth. They kicked me out of the city. They won't let me back in." And Story said, "I have an idea." So Story picked up truth, and then story began to take off some of those beads and bangles and fancy clothes that story travels in. It began to dress truth up in story. And then story said, now take my arm and together we will walk into the city. And so they did. And from that day forward, whenever truth covered in story travels with story, people let truth right into the city. My role here, they called me they knew they were going to do storytelling, and so they called around to find professional storytellers, and there's a few really good people in the Valley. And we talked for a while, and I had some background in nonprofit organizations, so that made some difference. And we just worked from there. My role is to help unify some of the threads that are being spoken about today. And what I'm doing that through is, when people registered, they were given an opportunity to share their story of how they have advocated for people in the past.
From Chris from the Arizona Association for Foster and Adoptive Parents. To raise awareness during the month of May, the Foster Care Awareness Month, we gathered stories of children in foster care in Arizona. We then attached one story each to a toy doll and delivered one doll to each member of the Arizona House and Senate.
Good morning.
Good morning, Senator.
It's quite early, but let's go ahead. And we have, I see we've got Andrew's here. Andrew, you want to go ahead and call the roll?
Certainly. Senator Ben Ortega. Senator.
I guess Ben is late, right? It's early, I know, so that's what.
Yes. Senator Rita Rudner.
Present.
Senator Jack Armstrong. Chair.
Here, thank you. Thank you very much. The chair notes that there are 2 members present and 1 absent, so we have a quorum today. Now let's move directly to the bill. Today we're going to do Senate Bill SDR 1027. Senator, well, first we'll have Andrea explain the bill. Is that okay with you, Senator Rudner?
Yes, that would be
Okay.
Thank you. A Stryker amendment brought by Senator Rudner to the committee. The Stryker replaces the original bill. If this passes, the bill will go to the voters in 2008 election. And this is whether to be voted on whether or not photo radar will be banned on our state highways. So the result of the vote is that a yes will have the effect of banning, and a no will have the effect of not banning.
Andrea, very good. Thank you very much. Senator Rudner, do you have any further comments on your bill and why you brought this to committee?
Mr. Chairman, as you know, I have some concerns about this, and I don't think we can have local governments going out and thinking that they know what's best for their constituents. We are clearly at a position where we can view it from a much better perspective. And my constituents have come to me and they have expressed concerns, and so I think that it would not be appropriate for the legislative body to just decide. And, you know, we don't need the governor weighing in on this. I think this is something for the people to decide.
Okay, let's go for some testimony of this bill. And I see that you have someone here. I will call him first. There also, I noticed, Andrea, there are quite a few people that are signed up, but there's not very many people in the audience. Can you explain exactly what's going on?
Yes, Senator. Senator Burns called an emergency appropriations hearing for 9 a.m., which is the normal meeting for the Transportation Committee. So, under Senate rules, the time can be changed before 5 p.m. the night before. Now, I called people, but had to leave a lot of messages because they had already left.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, let's go forward. Fine. Senator Rudner's constituent, Dr. Portney, will you please come up and explain your position on why you're supporting this bill?
Yes, thank you, Senator Armstrong, Senator Rudner. Appreciate the bringing this legislation forward. I am in full support of banning photo radar. It is an imposition on the citizens It is government meddling in our lives. We have cameras on the road. We'll have cameras in our bedrooms to tell us what to do and what not to do. How far can this go? All that photo radar has accomplished so far is cars speeding up after they see the camera and then putting on the brakes when the cameras are about to come into view, which creates an accordion effect on our freeways, which is much more dangerous than allowing traffic to flow at its normal pace. There is no evidence that shows that photo radar is stopping accidents or any other thing. It just impedes travel and is a big bother. It's against our due process to have our say, and we cannot work against mechanical devices that are impinging upon our freedom. So again, Senators, I'm in full support of this bill, and I appreciate the opportunity to come forward and talk to you today.
Thank you, Dr. That was very eloquent, Senator. Any further comments, Senator Rundgren?
No, I think that he speaks for many people who are members of my district.
Okay. Now we want to hear from someone else on this bill. I see the lobbyist from ADOT, Arizona Department of Transportation, is here, and he is always here. It's good to see you here again, Tim, today. I'm glad you found out about the time change. And what's the position of ADOT on this bill, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, my name is Tim Weasel, and I'm from Arizona Department of Transportation, commonly known as ADOT. I must assure you that ADOT is very concerned about the citizen safety and the public lives that could be put at risk. At the same time, Mr. Chairman and Senator Rudner, we're also aware that our budget bill is going to be heard next week and that neither of you really like this. And so as we're doing this balancing act, all we can really do is hope that someone else will step to this mic and take a position, because we're really not able to at this time.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate your support. Next, I see the Department of Public Safety lobbyist, Lieutenant Tim Schmaltz, in the audience. Well, Lieutenant Schmaltz, please give your name and title for the record.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Tim Schmaltz from the, Tim Pander actually is my name, Tim Pander. You look so good today, Senator, that we're glad that you called us. We're, really happy to come today and be before you, because you always do such a really good job, Senator. And well, oh yes, the point of the bill, the bill, what bill, what, oh yes. We're doing a lot of cost-benefit analysis, much like our sister agency, ADOT. We are weighing the pros and the cons of this. And we're trying to figure out really what would it cost to put cameras in bedrooms, on highways. And we're trying to really figure this out.
Excuse me, Lieutenant, we're short on time, but can you just give me, is DPS, are you in favor or are you opposed?
Well, again, our planning department and our budget department are talking about this along with our secretary, and we're hoping that someday we'll pander enough to, that we'll come up with a position.
Okay, thank you very much for your testimony.
Well, thank you. It's just great to be here today, and we really appreciate all that you do for our department, and anything we can do for you, Senator, in your district, you let us know. We'll put the cops up. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you very much. Now we have a citizen signed up on this bill. I've got the name, let me pronounce this right, is it Mrs. or Mrs. Marisa Dyson?
That'll do, that's close enough.
Okay, can you identify where do you live, your name?
I live in Phoenix, actually, and I just really appreciate the opportunity. I'm a citizen, I'm not familiar with this whole process. In fact, I'm a little bit nervous, so I hope you'll bear with me. But I'm just here today. I don't understand the costs or any of the complications of it, but I want to share a story with you. My niece was killed about a month ago driving on the 101. She was a beautiful girl, I can tell you. And what I know is that the guy that killed her, that crashed into her, was clocked at approximately 100 miles an hour. And I just can't help but think that if there had been photo radar out there, he might have thought twice about his speed, thinking he might have been getting caught, and maybe my niece would be alive today. So I'm opposed to this bill.
Ms. Dyson, I understand your pain, but this bill, as you're aware, allows the voters to decide yes or no whether there's voter radar. Are you opposed to that? You say you signed in opposed to the bill. Why would you oppose the bill when the voters will have a final decision?
Well, because it's the voters of the whole state. I think this is a local issue. I think that local government should have the right to determine the health and safety requirements. So I just don't want people in rural Arizona making decisions about what happens on the 101 and what Scottsdale can do.
Well, thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you.
We will consider it. I see we have no more people in the audience, but we have numerous people signed up to speak. I'll name the names off for the record. Andrew, please note these down. We've got Joe Smith, the lobbyist for Redflex, which is the photo radar company, and he is opposed. We've got Jan Jones, lobbyist for the city of Scottsdale, opposed. We've got Ed Edwards, the lobbyist for the Phoenix PD, opposed. We've got Ruth Anderson, representing Mothers Against Drunk Driving, opposed. We've got Shirley Temple, representing the Arizona Automobile Association, and they are neutral on this bill. And we've got Jerry Kishiyama from the League of Cities, who are opposed. And we have Fred Harvey, little Fred Harvey. Fred, he represents the contractor. He took me to lunch last week. He's a great guy. And he is neutral on this bill. So I think Lynn, do you have any more final comments before we vote?
No, Senator. I think we should move this right along. I think it's in the best interest of the people, and I am prepared to vote.
Okay. And maybe please call the roll.
Senator Rudner.
Aye.
Senator Ortega. Senator Armstrong.
I strongly vote aye. I believe in the will of the people, and by a vote of 2 ayes and 1 absent, this committee has passed SCR 1027. This bill now will go to the Senate Rules Committee, and we will have no more business for our committee today, so the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much.
Arizona Healthcare Association goes to Washington, D.C. to meet with their Arizona Senator, Senator Kyle, to lobby in favor of more money for the SHIP kids and the care program and raising the income levels to 300% of poverty. Now, Sam Campbell, who is played by Norris, is the executive director, and he is leading the delegation. I am playing the receptionist at Senator Kyle's office, and all of these other folks are additional members of the association who are here to represent the association. So you know where everything is. And Lynn is going to play a staffer.
Good morning.
Oh, yes.
We're here to see Senator Kyle, the delegation from the Arizona Health Association. We have an appointment.
Oh, thank you. Well, please sign the guest book. Senator Kyle is on the floor of the Senate. Right now, however, he has asked that you meet with his new health staffer.
Oh, thank you, but we were hoping to see the senator. We're here for a conference all day. Does he have any other time in the afternoon or at lunch we could stop by and talk with him?
No. You understand. I mean, he is fully booked. He has asked that his new health staff member meet with you, however. So may I introduce Ms. Sally Goodhealth? Sally. This is Mr. Sam Campbell. You're gotta make that appointment.
Hi, I'm from Arizona.
I'm Sally. It's so nice to meet you.
I'm the executive director. Let me go forward. Here's the president of the board.
Lisa Mitchell.
How do you do?
And these board members.
Hi. It's very nice to meet you. Hi. Hello.
Here we go into the Senate's
Well, the
office.
senator's very sorry that he wasn't able to meet with you. Let me check. No, they're having a meeting in there. Wait. Well, maybe we could just sit here in the lobby.
We have 3 chairs.
You have a seat. Well, I'll stand. And you just make yourself comfortable. I'm so glad that you could come here. How was your flight?
We had a very nice flight.
Good.
We'd like to give you some background. Have you been in Arizona? Do you know about Arizona issues?
Well, no, actually I'm from California. I actually just started.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
I used to work for another senator on the Hill, but he had to suddenly resign. So anyway, Senator Kyle was just wonderful to bring me on board. I'm so happy to meet you.
You're very kind. We traveled all the way to Arizona for this conference, and we had the appointment, but we've got lots of information we want to share with you. And here's some information that we prepared. We've got the fact sheets. And I'd like to turn it over to our president of our association to say a few words about why this is such an important bill that we're lobbying on today.
We're really here for the children of Arizona, and did you know, for example, that there are over 55,000 kids in Arizona that are not covered by health insurance? We have these two wonderful packets of information, one for you and one for the senator, and we'd really like for you to review that very carefully because we need to increase the budget to help kids in Arizona because we're all from Arizona. Please help our kids.
Oh, wonderful. Well, you know, the senator cares a lot. He has kids. He does. He cares very much about children.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I was wondering if, when the senator's back in Arizona, can we book through you? Can we book a meeting at his office so we can meet him?
I'm sure that, we don't exactly know the schedule because, the Senate's supposed to adjourn, but they don't have their appropriation bills done, and it's not looking very good that they'll get them done this year. So we don't really know his schedule, but you should call Cindy Lou in Phoenix, give her a call, and she would be happy to try and
Your office here cannot book the Arizona?
Oh, no, because the senator's schedule in Arizona is really different from his schedule here. But I really appreciate you bringing this material by,
you have
and I'll make
cards?
sure that, yes, hang on. Well, this isn't really my car.
This says you work for Senator Larry Craig.
No. He's a very nice man.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming by. It was so nice to meet you.
The skits were presented so well as far as what the process is to go through in the legislature to try to make what you're trying to do work. And I think it was very well presented as far as the trouble you can get into or what you have to not do, what you have to be aware of so you can actually get your point across successfully and what could go wrong.
I'm really honored to be here, but I do know that I'm here because Steve Benson probably charges you $1,000 to show. But I wanted to tell you a couple things. First of all, Norris is not without, Norris Nordvold is not without his little ammunition at the legislature. He can offer rounds of golf at Encanto that people. He also, one time when they were crossing the, this is a true story. Charlie Stevens told me it. They were crossing 17th Avenue, and a legislator complained about the pedestrian walkway wasn't very clear, or they ought to grab one. He calls a guy in streets department. By the time they came back, there was a crosswalk, which is again the Charlie Stevens method. Know somebody who can actually do something. We want information, insights, ideas that can be translated, turned into stories. That is what we want. We want the stories that gets us on the front page or gets us, we can blog about and get a lot of hits if we use Britney Spears in the same paragraph. We want information. So what I tell people now is use the community sections. We're dying for space. We're dying for small letters. we're being given the task of getting lots of names. Lots of names. Doesn't even matter if they're smart. Just lots of, you know, just lots of messages, lots of images, lots of faces, lots of names.
A man and a lion were engaged in conversation. They were trying to determine which of the two of them was the strongest, which one was the better. The man said, no, it is my superior intellect that makes me your better. I am superior. The lion said, no, it's my strength that makes me superior. I am the better of the two. The man said, let me prove it to you that I am better. So the two of them took a walk until they came to a large garden, and they wandered through the garden to the very center of the garden, and there was a large statue, humongous marble statue, and it was of a man who had subdued a lion and was ripping open the jaws of the lion. Beautiful sculpture. And the man said, see, this proves that man is superior to the lions. And the lion said, I don't know. For if lions were able to hold a chisel and sculpt, it might be a different statue. I did a lot of time in youth advocacy. People are always talking about how bad kids were, and I thought, have you ever actually given them a chance to have a voice? This is from Michael from Fisher Chapel AME Zion Church. I lived in a public housing project. It was near the end of the bus route. The buses did not come into the projects. Every day I had to escort my mother about 1/2 mile to and from the bus stop in all types of inclement weather. But special run buses with only 1 or 2 passengers would continue past our enclave and go into a more affluent area. Since I didn't know anything about politics, myself and another youngster, who were less than voting age, circulated a crude handwritten petition demanding bus service into the projects. We went to the next city council meeting and interrupted it to present the petition because we thought that in a democracy, anybody could talk at a city council meeting if they just showed up. Got to love it. The elected officials manufactured usual excuses, including ridership volume and the fact that the streets were not wide enough. We reminded them of the special run buses with only 1 or 2 passengers, and that garbage, fire, furniture, and utility trucks came and went without problems. We got bus service. The elected officials called a press conference and bragged about how it was all their idea to do something good for the peasants.
Well, it's great to see this room filled up. I can remember when in 1985-86, when I started working for the association, we were trying to do some legislation and we couldn't find an advocate to speak up with us for Loebner money. So to know that there are so many of you here today and that you're ready to get engaged is an exciting thing for me personally. You know, it's no secret that we've moved into the information age. And lately, I don't know about you, but I've read this new term called evolution. Have you seen that lately? Well, I think when we talk about advocacy, that E is not one of the little blue E's. It's a great big capital E. Because when our legislators are in the legislature with their computers right in front of them when you're testifying, or when you get emails from them as you're on your way to testify and you know that they're already thinking about your subject, we know that communication space that we get overridden with from time to time, that's on our minds all the time, we know that they're struggling with some of that same thing. And if we don't enter into that communication dialogue space with them and with our fellow advocates, I think that we're missing a big opportunity. no longer is the BlackBerry only for the elite. Our electronic communication has caused all of us to read and respond almost on demand, and our legislators are no different. Regardless of where they are, and I won't tell you where I've talked to some legislators, but regardless, you know, we have that BlackBerry or cell phone or whatever with us, and we're getting the messages. This means as advocates that we're only depending on, if we're only depending on traditional methods, and they are very important. The classic challenges for advocates is linking your volunteers who are going to help you lift your message to friends. How many of you voted in the last election? Okay, good for you, because if you don't, how can you possibly ask others? Now let me ask one other question. How many of you know your legislative district number? Good job. Congressional district? Oh, a few less. Okay. How many of you know your state representatives' names? You are a good group. You know, it is now as easy as knowing your 9-digit zip code number. To figure how many of you know your 9-digit zip code number. Oh, bad. Well, go home and look on your recent mailing and get that last 4 extension on your zip. And then I would ask you, at your table, one of the very first sites on that list is called vote-smart.org. If you don't know your elected officials, or if the people that you work with and you're trying to mobilize don't know their elected officials, their district, their legislative district, their congressional district, etc., in just like one click, they can find out who those folks are. You can check out congress.org. That website will give you the latest updates, what committees are hearing what, when, etc. And they also have this new added page recently. It's called Advocacy Express. If you go on to that page, you can, for a small fee, write a letter to your representative or congressperson or anyone else that you choose to in Congress, and have that letter hand delivered to their office. Did you know that? That is like a miracle in my book.
We've heard some great stories this morning, and so I thought I'd start by telling you my story and how I became passionate about advocacy. I wasn't born a policy wonk. I had no idea, in fact, what policy was about. And I remember when I was younger and the Watergate hearings were going on, and my mother and my father and my brothers were all glued to the television. I was like, come on, will someone come out and play with me? What in the world? Now, of course, now, had that been happening, I'd be glued too. But at the time, I had no idea that I was actually destined to be a policy wonk, so I didn't pay much attention at all and was rather bored by it all. But let me talk to you about why I believe advocacy is key to any organization, whether you're a foundation or a nonprofit whose mission involves improving people's lives in their communities. I've always known that I wanted a career in helping people. I just didn't know what it was going to be. In college, I thought about going into law school, but after a year as a paralegal on a K Street, Washington, D.C. law firm, I thought, okay, that is not for me. The first time I testified, I was terrified that I'd be asked a question I couldn't answer. Almost 2 years later, I walked out of the Capitol late one evening, elated. The legislature had just passed our bill expanding access to prenatal care to all low-income women up to 130% of the federal poverty level. That meant 40,000 more women a year were going to get access to prenatal care because of our work. A week later, the governor signed the bill, and I was hooked on advocacy. I think the Wallace Foundation exemplifies the impact that a smaller foundation can have. Let me share with you some of the successes of our local grantees, most of whom are grassroots organizations made up of residents in low-income communities. They have successfully advocated for county funding of community clinics, developed a local children's health insurance program, which has become a model for communities around the state, and got city officials to close down a chrome plating shop in a low-income community that was spewing toxins into the air and contributing to high rates of asthma. Few of these successes would have occurred without our grantees receiving funding for advocacy from ourselves and other funders. There simply isn't money elsewhere. It's not like you can pay a fee and the organization can do advocacy. It really is incumbent upon foundations. That's where the money is. An excellent example in Arizona is the work of St. Luke's Health Initiative, which has worked hard on reframing the issues on healthcare access, so policymakers see it as an issue that affects all of us, just not the uninsured. Once you've arrived at the solution, then you need to advance it. That means advocacy activities such as building coalitions, community organizing, developing materials to educate policymakers and the media. It also means that dreaded word, lobbying. All of you will pick up the torch that the Wallace Foundation is handing off to you today and continue to give voice to the voiceless. Thank you.